Sacred moments. Sacred moments with you. Sacred moments. Yeah. Enter in sacred moments. I'm here in this space on this day with you. I'm here in this sacred space witnessing the morning dew. Sacred moments. In voice and in victory, we will share our thoughtful view, conversing and even challenging things we thought we knew. Sacred moments. With expectancy and excitement is this time set aside. Won't you enter in with us? And come on, let's take this ride. Riding the waves of wonder and whimsy. We're not here to do silly or flimsy. We're sacred moments. We are here open to listen and engage and converse. You know I'm going to keep the triune God in sight and first. I'm here with you on this holy mountain of meaning, sharing vows and syllables, discussing powerful gleanings. It's sacred moments. With songs and sonnets and poems and prose, this is not just another one of those radio shows. It's sacred moments. It's sacred moments with me as your host, here to clear and create and commune with you from coast to coast. It's sacred moments. Enter. Good morning. Sacred moments. Good morning. Good morning, America, Africa, Istanbul, Switzerland, Spain, Brazil. I mean, worldwide. How are you, world? We are happy to be here. It is Sunday morning, and we are going to say good morning, good morning. Good morning, Minister DeAndre Richardson.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning.
Good morning.
Great to meet you. Glad to be here today.
We're happy to have you here today. And we are happy to have Khadija Alter Ego Phillips, who is our super duper producer, not just of this show. I don't know how many shows she's doing right now. I mean, but you know, I'm sure you have like a number that is out of this world.
You always make me feel special. I gotta like look like, is she talking about me?
I am talking about you. I mean, I think you're an amazing producer because, you know, the things that you do, I would not have thought of doing. So I am happy. Guess what, audience, before we get started, as we talk about the things that our super duper producer does, I'm gonna have to kind of sit up a little bit. If you are seeing us live or on a replay, we got something that, let me move my shirt down. Let me move my computer down. We got something to show you. We got something to show you. Can you see that?
Nice.
Grab our merch on our website, bestiesbusiness.org, and it's in the entrepreneur shop so you can support the show.
Awesome.
Sacred Moments t-shirts. And they feel absolutely wonderful. They're nice and soft. They come in many colors. They fit, appropriately. And I'm loving my t-shirt. I mean, we have a radio show and a t-shirt.
Wow.
What more could we want? What do you think about it, Minister DeAndre Richardson? What do you think about it?
I'm thinking that will make a wonderful present.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yes. Buy one and not get another one free. Buy one for you and then buy one for somebody else.
Yeah.
Large. Thank you.
Oh, okay. I got you now. All right. It will make a nice present for you. Got you.
Oh, right. Yes.
I get that. Well, we are always happy to be here. We have a guest that is with us, and we brought her on from the beginning. I'm going to turn it over to Alter Ego briefly for her to ask a quirky question. And then I got something to tell y'all before we get started with our interview, because today is a special day.
Okay. So my quirky question is, I want to ask you to finish the sentence. I never leave home without my
Phone.
That
was easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't need keys, none of that. Just make sure I have my phone so I can call for help.
Yes.
Getting
absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. And because if I'm locked out, I can use my phone, hopefully, to call for help.
Okay.
Yeah. I want to ask a quirky question.
Uh-oh. Yes.
If your mood was a season, what mood would you be in today?
Today? Oh. If my mood were a season, what mood would I be in today? Today I'm in spring.
Okay.
Why you say spring? Because spring.
There's a follow-up? Okay.
Because it could be rainy or it could be sunny. So which one?
Yeah, no, it's a season of transition and optimism. I'm waiting.
Okay.
All deep and philosophical.
Philosophical.
That's okay. Yeah. We know who's more.
I'm making words in a minute.
Yeah, I'm on here. I got a minister and a reverend. I might need to be quiet because y'all gonna be like, the origin of this word is the prophecy originates from, derived from. I don't know what type of show we already had.
Well, you sound fancy. I gotta write that down.
Yeah, like I don't know if I'm qualified, so I'm just going.
Of course you are.
Well, first of all, you're the producer, and you can keep us on or take us off like that. What is that from the Apollo?
Yes.
The hook.
Yes.
Yeah. So we want to really open the show, first of all, by saying Happy Mother's Day to those that are celebrating this day in any way. But we also want to, have the understanding that every holiday is not a happy holiday for everyone, and as this may or may not be. So we want to honor all of us that, maybe whose mom, grandmom, or a mother figure who's no longer with us on this side of heaven. We want to honor you and your feelings about this day. We also want to honor the moms that, may be struggling, raising children, whether it's, as a single parent or in a, full household, but still finding some challenges. We want to honor women who may have wanted to birth a child, but may have yet to do that. We want to honor women who mother children, not of the womb, but of the heart. We just really want you to know that in any space of mothering, whether it's being a mother or having a mother and that relationship was strained or whatever way, that we want to honor you today in whatever place that you find yourself in, and for you to know that you are loved, you are cared for, and that we just want you to know that you are thought about in the space of this moment. So for those that are really celebrating today, we celebrate with you as well. So we just wanted to say that. And today is Mother's Day. So we are grateful for all that holds for many of us. But also, and as you see, I'm doing my little, in case you don't know what this, this is my May dance. May, in case you don't know it, I'm just putting it out there. I mean, you should already know this, but May is the best month of the year. Just in case you didn't know it. And if you really want to know why, it's because it's my birthday month. It's my birthday month. Y'all got something to say about that? It's my birthday month.
it's new for me. People who celebrate all month long their birthday. I just recently started seeing people do that. So I think that's dope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the day is, the born day is good, but we only get to one. We all have an individual birthday, and so hey, celebrate. And I'm looking for suggestions and other things. Gift card. Listen, I'm not going to turn no gift down.
You gotta go skydiving. I think Will Smith, when he turned 50, he did this whole thing about fear and your breakthrough was on the other side of fear. So he started doing all these things, and one of the things he did was skydiving. I would never do it, but I'm just saying you asked for suggestions.
Yeah, that's like bungee jumping, and I've never really understood that either.
No, don't do bungee jumping.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm scared.
No, I think I'll be that
way. Ideas, Minister Deandra?
Well, if you don't want to do the real plain skydiving, they have that iFly that people do, where it's similar.
Like in a tube thing?
Yeah, you're inside, and it's like it's an air tunnel. They have that in the Philadelphia area somewhere, and you kind of float on the air, so you get the same similar feeling, but it's not out of a plane. So you could try that.
Oh, that might. I mean, because you can't fall but so far with that, right?
Yeah, you're not going in. You're inside, and you're in a little tunnel, and somebody's in there with you.
Okay,
that might not be. It feels like you're flying. Kind of, sort of.
I don't know what that feels like.
I think I've seen it though. They're probably this high off the ground.
Yeah, and different heights off the ground, and then so that's
might work. I always wanted to fly. That was one of my things that I thought when I was younger that I could fly. I think I jumped off the second step, and when I was younger, thinking
that the second step.
Yeah, I saw Peter Pan. Well, listen. I knew that if I jumped off that top step. Listen, we had one of my neighbors. We all saw Peter Pan and Superman. So when I saw Peter Pan, I was like, oh, I want to fly like her. That's when I jumped off the step, right? My neighbor, he was a boy. He wanted to be Superman. He jumped out the window, the second floor window.
How'd that go?
He broke his arm or something. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
Goodness. Yeah, kids. Topic of the day: motherhood and ministry. Let's talk about.
That's exactly it. So right. What do you do as a mother? What do you do with a kid that jumps out the window talking about I'm Superman or off the step? Yeah. So Minister Deandra Richardson is a native of Philadelphia. I want to share some things with you, audience. She's an associate minister at a local church in Philadelphia. And she was licensed to preach in 2015. So 7 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. In the capacity, Minister Richardson, she serves with the worship team. She's going to tell us a little bit about that. Facilitates quarterly leadership conferences. She has oversight of, as a mother, Daughters of Esteem and Purpose Ministry, as well as Rites of Passage program for preteens and teen girls. She does a lot of different things. I want to talk to her about her degrees in history and how all of those play together, not just in ministry, but as being a mom. So kind of that's our conversation for today. Moms in ministry and that relationship. So tell us a little bit, first of all, about how you felt the call to ministry, and because your children are older than your call, you were already a mom when you got the call. So tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So yes, that's an important note, is that they weren't born into this current ministry. So I was working at a local seminary in an administrative capacity, supporting students who themselves were responding to their call to ministry and getting their formal education. So I'd done that for about 13 years. And at the end of that time, I felt like that season was over. I felt like that God was calling me to leave there, but I didn't quite know to go where, which is often the case. So it's like, leave here, yes, but what next? So I thought perhaps going back to school. So I'd applied to a local school for a PhD program, and I did not get in. And so I was like, okay, so I thought you said to do this. This is the conversation that we had with God. Um, but actually what happened was I had about a year to just kind of be in transition and be quiet and be home. And right at the end of that year, our pastor at the time started to also kind of see that God was doing something different with me. So I served in all those ways that you said before in ministry, but this was a call to the preaching ministry. And so we started that process of doing new things and exploring leadership in church in a different way. And that led to eventually being licensed. And again, my children were here, born and in middle school. So they kind of were a part of that transition process as I was discerning what God was doing. They were along for the ride, and eventually me going to seminary as well. So we were all in school at the same time.
Oh boy.
How did they, because I remember when my mom became just a Christian. So she's not in the ministry, but just when she decided she was going to be a Christian and she accepted Christ, from a kid's point of view, I was kind of like, you kind of look at your mom like, girl, bye, you were just doing this. And now you're doing this. And now you're coming to me and you want me to, make some changes in my life because you made a change. And I was a teenager. Did your children, I know they were in middle school, so did they kind of accept it and they were like, okay, mommy's doing this new thing, or were there any challenges that came with it?
Yeah, I think they were still young enough that they were probably as preoccupied with their own school that it didn't feel so drastic. One of the things I think that God allowed graciously was for that process to happen in the place where we were all worshiping. So that development that God was doing with me, that happened in a familiar place and around familiar people. So that as I was being nurtured, they were allowed to still be in a safe, familiar place. So I don't know, they didn't share anything. I haven't, I'm not aware of any specific challenges. One of the things that did happen was I was very concerned about how I would go to school and all that entailed, classes, night classes, doing work, how that would impact my family. And so I was very much aware that I wanted, as a mom and as a wife, I wanted in whatever way possible to sort of maintain the environment of my household, and not create an additional strain on it. That was kind of the perspective that I had going into it. And my husband was supportive. They were supportive. They studied Greek with me sometimes. And people made adjustments, and I made adjustments and kind of learned along the way what would work.
See, I told you that Greek. I knew that was. I'm just waiting for y'all to throw out one of those words.
No, that's not going to happen.
I guarantee you it's not going to happen on my end, No,
that's a blessing. That's definitely a blessing because, like I said, it's a little different from, my situation is a little different, but that was kind of a hard transition for me. I'm not going to put my mom out there, but, she was one way.
Sure.
And then, some people, I feel like they, accept Christ or they, get a different call in their life. And some people it's a gradual change, but literally for her, it was like an overnight type of thing. So I just think that that's a blessing that you were able to do everything. Sometimes people have to leave the church. You were able to stay there and still have everything all together. And your husband being supportive. So I think that's dope.
Yeah. I think for me, not so much with the children, but I was like your mom in that sense, with my former husband, where I accepted, the Lord in a very serious way, right? Because, I grew up in church here and there, right? Knew about the Lord, but just having so much zeal and change and, wanting everybody to get this thing. And, I'll tell you, quite frankly, I think that, I did him a disservice, because I was so excited about it. And that, the Bible talks about having zeal and not experience, and how you can maybe approach your newfound faith in a way that's very off-putting to people. So, I've apologized because it was a hot mess, but I can understand, what you're saying about your mom. And I think that sometimes it's just such an immediate change, inside of you. And then you just go for it with everyone. But
then when you're a kid, you kind of have to like conform, or they want you to conform. Like, I'm mom, and so now I'm going to church, and like, you need to come to church. And it's like, no, I don't want to go to church. Especially when you're a teenager, you kind of like, So, yeah, that definitely was hard. I think I wrote her a letter when I was like 18 or 19, just telling her, when I actually was able to realize, like, this is a good change. Like, I see the change in you. You're a much better person, even though it was still frustrating. And sometimes she does the same thing now, like a little overbearing with it. Even though I am a Christian now, and I believe our beliefs are a little different. It's, when your mom is still full of zeal, because she is. All these years later, yes. Every time something happens on the news, she's calling, do you know if Ali ever accepted Christ? Talking about my son. I'm like, Mom, like, he's 23. Like, you could really call and ask him, but he explained this to you 62 times. Every time something happens, you don't have to call and ask. So she's still like, but I think that is awesome to see even though you don't always see it or acknowledge it at first, to see your mom change or to see your mom glow up. I think that's awesome that your kids were able to see you say, hey, something's changing. Let's do this together. Let's study together. Let's do it together. Instead of you like, no, this is what we're going to do. I'm beating it in your head. I think that's a great experience for them.
So how did you come to make those decisions about, like how you were going to maneuver from the changes in your life? Because as you said, you had young children, and Dee has made this statement, that they were ultimately changing as well with from going from, toddler to what's the next stage? Adolescence to teenager, because everybody's now moving, along in a different path. Do you find yourself still making these decisions as you now are in ministry? And how did you maneuver from that point to make the decisions that you made as they were growing up? Two-part question.
Yeah, that's a big question.
And you can choose whichever one of those. Yeah.
Well, to think about that time period, which again was 2015, 16, 17, 3 years, 16, 17, 18.
Okay.
How did I decide? I think it was just trial and error, which I think with motherhood, I would suppose most things are. It's a new experience. I had not done it before I had been through school enough times, but not with a family. And so I just tried different things in terms of scheduling, communicating. Just trial and error, I think, to answer that question. And so I guess that's just the answer for that time period and since then is that there is no handbook. So you think about what might work and you try it. And I guess if that doesn't work, you make the adjustments along the way.
And I think that's a really pivotal point for all of us, right? As we maneuver being a mom, and even, you know, in my case, as it was some years ago, being a mom and a caretaker of a mom, right? Because motherhood encompasses like the totality of your life. And Minister Richardson, like what you're saying, is making decisions and knowing how to pivot, right? Knowing what works and what doesn't work as you try it, and not being held to, you know, I don't know, now when it kind of asked this question, like, do you feel like we're held to some sorts of standards that are, you know, unrealistic, that maybe other people put on us, or we put on ourselves? Both of you can answer that question. If you like.
You can go first.
Okay. Yes, I do think that I don't think that we're held to standards. I think that standards are offered, and oftentimes we accept them. And a lot of that, I think, happens, what's the word? It happens quickly, and it happens with great impact. It happens quickly and oftentimes without being mindful. So there are all kinds of shoulds and Instagrammable posts that tell you about what something should look like, sound like, how it can be. And I think that we ingest a lot of that without taking a minute to say, is this healthy for me? Is this what my family should look like, or how I should move about? And so I think the freedom comes in realizing that we aren't held to those things, meaning that we can make choices and decisions to not accept those as how we have to behave or how we have to build, because a lot of times they are toxic and not helpful. There can't be one single way to do anything. And then particularly when you are called to be a mother, which is ministry in itself, you have a family, that's ministry, and you are called to be a leader in the Christian church. All of those things can get compounded and messy and all tangled up, but you really have to, I think, move slowly enough and quietly enough to ask, what is it that we are supposed to take on? How is it that I'm supposed to be? And to reject a lot of those filtered, unreal images that we see.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely think that the world puts these things out there. Like you said, you know, it's the snapshot of someone's life you see on social media, and you think that that's how it, you know, it really is. And behind the scenes, you know, it's not. Somebody has said underneath one of my posts when I showed I was making the smoothies for the babies, they're like, you make it look so easy, but I know it's really hard. And I'm like, yes, it is hard. I'm not trying to make it look easy. I just want to show you that if your baby is like mine and they don't eat, this is how you can do it. But it's definitely hard. Like, who feels like, because behind the scenes, what you don't see is that I didn't do the dishes yet, and I still have to clean the stove off, and the baby doesn't have a shirt on and his Pampers falling off. But all you see is this cute little smoothie in a mason jar. Like, no, it is hard. But I think that a lot of women seem like they're coming into this realization that you don't have to be Superwoman. And I think for a lot of us, that was kind of like where you get your validation from. I say that a lot on here, that a lot of Black women, and just women, period, not even really Black women, but you get your validation from how much you do as a mom and for other people. So if you're the mom, you know, who's cooking, who's cleaning, who's dropping the kids off, who's picking them up, and if you work on top of that too, everybody is like, oh my God, you're so awesome. You know, you're doing all these things. You're so great. When in reality, she's burnt out and she's tired and she's not getting the help that she needs, but everybody is praising her. And she even feels like, you know, I'm super mom. Like, I had to block somebody off my page one day because I said something about, this was probably a couple of years ago, something about just being tired. The babies weren't sleeping, and she like commented and was like, I have 7 kids. Like, you shouldn't have kids if you can't deal with it, or something like that. And I'm like, girl, okay, block. Like, I'm not even gonna argue. And of course, everybody is like trying to argue with her, but there are people who still are under the belief that if you burn yourself out, then you're a great mom. Absolutely not. Like, if you die, then what? Who's going to take care of your kids? You didn't had a heart attack or an aneurysm because you're burning yourself out trying to live up to these standards that who knows who put out there. So I absolutely do think that it's put on us, and we're trying to live up to something that nobody even knows where this whole ideology came from. And I know for me, women in ministry, mom or not, I feel like you guys always have this big expectation to be superwoman, and to, like we talked about on our show last week, about to not be depressed, to not have anxiety. Why are you worried? Like, you're a minister, you're a reverend. Like, why are you worried? You believe in God. Like, why are you even stressing? So that on top of taking care of your kids, taking care of your husband, and then taking care of yourself, like, where does your actual person, like, where do you fall in, like, who you are?
Right.
I think
yeah, great thing. I mean, I think what you just said identifies for women clergy who in particular have families that they're responsible for, whatever the family looks like, that we have such a great opportunity right now to be an example for what health can be. And that's only because we're finding out how many of us are not healthy, how many of us are on a thread and on fumes, and it is that combination of the good mom model and the good Christian model that come together, like you said, that can be explosive, and people find out that it was explosive, unfortunately, after somebody passes away. So we have a great opportunity right now, as things that are changing in society, to start to shed some of those layers that have been suffocating, to our community. And I'm trying to do that. That's what I'm trying to do. That's what I am doing.
All right. I like that you changed that from what I'm trying to do to what I am doing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I think that is what is helpful to us in this audience. And Khadija and I oftentimes see that, this show has been a catalyst for real honest conversations, the good and the pretty and maybe the not so pretty. And so two things kind of stuck out as you both were talking. And as a mom, and as when I use the word held to a standard, I was looking at it from a place of what I thought, even not just what you guys and what you're living through with this social media piece, but held to a particular standard that I thought that God had given me, that I had not lived up to, and then living out the shame of that. So it's kind of a opposite, right? Where sometimes, we hear messages or interpret messages in a way that, will make us feel like we got to do more because we're not doing enough as a mother or a wife or a woman in general. And I think for me, that's kind of where I was thinking about coming to faith, when coming to a deeper faith, even though I was going to church here and there, and then, coming to like your mom, like accepting the Lord in this moment. And then for me, it was almost like looking back and seeing all the things that I hadn't done right, and then carrying that forward and trying to maybe sometimes make up for it or live through it, and so it can be both ways, and thinking, and having the shame of that.
What you made it, making up for it with my children, because children can sometimes make you feel like you're not living up to probably a standard that you created for yourself, something that you wanted to do. for so many years, for my older two, I tried to make up for the 7-8 year marriage that I had, my first marriage, which was just, filled with abuse and just, it just was a horrible situation. And I stayed for so long. So I spent so many years trying to make up for that with the kids. And then in turn, I'm working so much so I can buy you all these things. Even though they had all the things during that time, I was dealing what I was dealing with emotionally, not really thinking about what they're dealing with. I'm thinking about, I'm in survival mode. So I just did so much, like, anything you want, I'm paying, like my son is out of high school. I told you to do X, Y, and Z, you didn't do it. So let me pay for you to go get your EMT degree. Let me pay for it. Let me get you a car. My daughter, anything that you want, I'm going to give it to you. Because I was really trying to make up, because I felt like, part of their high school, and, it just was hard. And I had to say, you know what? I can't go back in time and change, that situation. But yeah, like I had in my mind, nobody said this to me. The kids didn't say this. It's just something that I felt like once I got out of it, I kept saying, oh, I have to make up for that time that I had them there. I have to fix it however I could fix it. And it's a standard that I had for myself, a way that I knew how I wanted to be a mom, but I couldn't. I was stifled. I couldn't do. So I had to make sure that we all survived this marriage. I had to make sure we all survived this relationship. I had to make sure we were alive day to day. So I had to worry about, pretending to be happy and, keeping the kids away from him as much as I could. So I went through that. And I literally, for years, it really wasn't until probably like this year or last year when I kind of started saying things like, listen, I'm not worried about them two, they're grown. I have to worry about the little ones. And I say this to people a lot, even to my mom, to my husband, like, they're grown, 23 and 20. I got to focus on these little ones. I basically, in my head, I'm like, I can't mess them up. Okay. Y'all good. I did what I could. My bad. I'm sorry. But
I get it.
So I think motherhood is just hard, period. Just being a mom, you make mistakes, like you said earlier, that, it's no handbook. You kind of just out here winging it. And then sometimes our parents, they may not have, necessarily done the best job, but also you come to a place where you realize they were working with what they had, what they got from their mom. Their mom probably, so you kind of, and then their mom's mom probably, had different stressors or situations that caused them. Because if I'm thinking about it from how my life is now, my grandkids, however my children are with them, if they think about how I was during that marriage, who knows what they'll say. My mom allowed this man, X, Y, and Z, and they may have to get to a certain point where they're like, well, she was working with what she had, what she knew. So definitely the whole trying to make up for that was heavy for me.
Yeah. So I would just say that I think we've kind of all said it in different ways, but we may want to see how we are, if we are living to an unrealistic expectation that we have put on ourselves, and or we have, as you both had kind of said, in the world that you kind of growing up in, because I didn't have that social media world. I looked at how motherhood was by my neighbor across the street or down the street. And we learned how to, I learned that if you said the wrong thing, you get the belt out, or, there's so many different ways of mothering that have come through all generations. But I think what, we are offering is that, and I really appreciate Minister Richardson's thing. There really is no handbook, but there are conversations that we can have with each other, right? And express what has worked and what hasn't worked, and sit with thoughtfulness about, and grace, right? like grace is really important. Being a mom in ministry, as Minister Richardson talked about, and how we can show the honesty of even some of our challenges that we have, right? And knowing when, I don't know about, but have you learned how to say yes and no now? I mean, do you see a difference between, like, in ministry, I don't know if you ever had this experience, but, I'm a mom, so, I got to be a mom, but then I'm also a minister and I have to do this. So, am I letting God down if I don't do this? Am I letting my children down if I'm not doing that? Have you ever had any of those moments that kind of came up, and if you did, how did you get through them? I'm not going to say handle them.
Yes, I think that's just been a part of my own growing up in ministry. Just as I answer that, I think about the idea that it's not just our children that grow up, but we grow up too. And
Excellent.
So we expect for them to not know how to do something and then to learn over time. And so it's the same for us as mothers. It's the same for us in ministry. And so how I this move about now is different than it was 5 years ago, because I've been growing up, and I'm grateful to be growing still into healthier ways. So yes, I do prioritize myself more now than I did initially. But then also the seasons are different. So again, what is required of us in I think a lot about gardening, because I like to be in the dirt. What you have to do to prepare the soil, what you have to do to get things planted, is a different amount of energy that it takes, an output and time. And then there's a time when you can kind of sit back and nurture and let things grow and do it. So in the beginning, it's expected that you're going to be doing some new things, and it's going to require different parts of you. But I'm growing into a place now, a new place, and I am learning more how to ask God, what do I need to do? But it's not just for ministry, it's also as a mom.
Mm-hmm.
Because things are always changing, things are always growing. And so even what I would have done 4 or 5 years ago, it's got to be different now in ministry. It's got to be different now with my children, because we're all in a different place. And so, yes, I'm much more clear right now as to right now where I need to be and where I don't need to be, how I need to give of myself and when I need to rest. And I think even in years to come, that's going to change in a different way. And so it's just good to be open to learning and continuing to grow and evolve like our children.
I really appreciate that, because as you were talking, I was thinking about, my own journey. And as if you use the gardening analogy, from where I'm at as a mother, as a grandmother, is that then, the seasons change, or now that the work has been done, the garden has been, the ground has been tilled. On this end, I am so blessed to be able to see what is growing out of the ground. Mm-hmm. As a mother and a woman in ministry, to be able to see it in this, we cry almost every show. I was just like, my tears are going to come down. But to be able to see the beauty of, what was buried and what comes out.
Mm-hmm.
And now is a good time for you to shout out your daughter, who has the same face, and you can see what she's grown up, and everybody can see like how awesome she is. You are a great guest. I think, just an inspiration. I want you to talk about earlier you mentioned that you have a group for girls. You said can you tell us about that, what you're doing?
So that's not current. Those are some of the opportunities that I have had over the years in our church. As with many places, the pandemic has given us the opportunity to take a pause and a reset and to see what's new. So that was one of the pieces that we were allowed to do before, which was great. And we did. We served the young girls in their own trend, growing up and into teenagerhood. Yeah. So right now, I think our focus is really on just checking in on everybody, giving all of us a chance to come back in whatever way that comeback looks like, whether we have virtual campus that we're wanting to build up and those who are coming in person, and it just to touch people and just really to give a space to see how folks are doing after the pandemic. So
yeah.
Well, we our shows,
Mother's Day.
our shows go so fast.
too.
Yes, we are happy to
Happy
just say Happy Mother's Day again, and to I want to just thank God for just this show. And I don't know if you already know, but Minister Deandra Richardson is my womb daughter. And you know, seeing her grow up to be a wonderful woman of faith, a great mom. She's given me two beautiful and handsome grandchildren. Did you say you're welcome?
Yeah.
The grandchildren who bring much joy. Yes,
don't forget about him.
Yeah, that's right. He helped out. Right. Okay. So thank you for that. And we wish that you have a wonderful day of celebration, of thoughtfulness, and whatever way that this day finds you, may you find and know that peace be with you on this day. And we look forward to Sacred Space Ministry on the first and third Fridays of the month at 6:30 p.m. and Sacred Moments every Sunday at 9 a.m. And we look forward to seeing you next time with another great show and another good guest. But thank you, Minister Deandra Richardson, who is my womb daughter. I'm going to say it twice now. We hope that you all have a great week, and we'll see you again the next time. Thank you for being our guest.
Thank you.